Welcome, kia ora tātou, haere mai ki tēnei hui, haere mai ki te ako he painga mō tātou katoa, which means welcome to this meeting. It's a time for learning for us all. My name is Greg Hewson and I'm a member of the church here at Mornington, and I'd just like to sincerely thank you all for coming tonight. It's lovely to see so many people here, and we're expecting a few more as the night goes on. Just a few health and safety notices. If in the unlikely event of a fire or an earthquake, please note there is a door over in the corner there, and we have an exit here into the entranceway and another door right behind you there. So we have three exits. There are toilets. You just go out into the entranceway, through the doors towards the hall and turn left, and the bathrooms are down the end of the passageway there. If you have a cell phone, could you please put it on silent or turn it off? I will be the MC for this evening, and I've been involved in the area of interfaith peace education since I began as a chaplain at the University of Otago in the year 2000. And before I moved to Dunedin, I knew very few people of faiths other than Christian. And so for me, that was quite a steep learning curve, but it's been a very enriching part of my life to have met and to become good friends with people of faiths other than Christian. So we meet during Ramadan, which is, as we know, a very special and sacred time for our Muslim community, and it's a privilege to host this Pearl of the Islands Foundation and Dunedin Interfaith Council and Dunedin Methodist Parish event here in Dunedin. And a special welcome to Pearl of the Islands Foundation staff, to Yelson and Adam, who've come from Auckland, and Malika, who's done a lot of the organising, and our friends Yusuf and Yasa, who have been staying with us. They're the ones with the hats on, and they're very talented musicians. And the last couple of days, they've been teaching me some Turkish music. So I'm now qualified to wear one of these. So when the time comes, I will don this, and that gives me credibility in my musicianship in a Turkish way. So I'd like now to call upon the minister of our church, Reverend Ian Boddy. Ian is our interim minister for 4 months, and we're really enjoying Ian's ministry, and Ian is going to open with a prayer. Thank you, Ian.
Welcome. Let us, as we say, let us pray. By the sacredness of the universe in which we have our being. Ramadan Mubarak. Blessings upon us at this time, in this place. Blessings of wisdom, peace, justice and reason. Blessings of hope, care. Blessings of faith and love. May we be blessed with self-control, restraint, moderation, abstinence, and greater consciousness in a time which is Ramadan for some, Lent for some, a sacred time for all being. May we seek and find harmony, joy, and solidarity with each other. May the children of this world be blessed. Blessed and not harmed, not exploited, not made victims, not hurt and killed. We pray for a better world, a peaceful world, an understanding world, a loving world. We pray this from within ourselves And we pray this from our learning and practice from each of our religious traditions. Tonight and always, may we be blessed. Let it be.
Thank you, Ian. Malika did ask me to make another couple of announcements. One was there is a list that is going to be circulating during our evening tonight for you to add your name and email, please, so that we've got that information to let you know about future events. Pearl of the Islands are building up a database of people who are interested in interfaith dialogue. So please fill that in when it comes past you. And also, Pearl of the Islands are taking some photos tonight for social media. If you would rather not be on social media, just let Malika know. Where is Malika? Yeah, let Malika know, or Adam, and we'll make sure that you're not on social media. But I've been blessed myself the last few days watching or seeing some reports of Pearl of the Islands Foundation events in Auckland and elsewhere on social media, and that's given me a sense of being part of a movement that is throughout New Zealand. So social media, carefully used, I think, can have some positive benefits. I'd like now to share with you an understanding of what it means to have a Quran recitation, because after I've read this, we're going to have a Quran recitation. According to Islamic tradition, the Quran was revealed over a 23-year period, and revelation started during the month of Ramadan. Muslims regard the Quran as the culmination of a series of divine messages that started with those revealed to Adam, regarded in Islam as the first prophet, and continued with the scrolls of Abraham, the Torah to Prophet Moses, Psalms to Prophet David, and the Bible revealed to Prophet Jesus. The aforementioned books are not explicitly included in the Quran, but are acknowledged and recognised therein as the Word of God. The Quran also refers to many events from Jewish and Christian scriptures, some of which are retold in comparatively distinctive ways from the Bible and the Torah, while obliquely referring to other events described explicitly in those texts. I'd now invite Adam Solimez, Pearl of the Islands Foundation Community Engagement Coordinator, to recite the Quran. Thank you, Adam.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. تبارك الذي جعل في السماء بروجا وجعل فيها سراجا وقمرا منيرا وهو الذي جعل الليل والنهار خلفة لمن أراد أن يذكر أو أراد شكورا وعباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا وإذا خاطبهم هونا وإذا خاطبهم الجاهلون قالوا سلاما والذين يبيتون لربهم سجدا وقياما والذين يقولون ربنا اصرف عنا عذاب جهنم إن عذابها كان غراما إنها ساءت مستقرا ومقاما والذين إذا أنفقوا لم يسرفوا ولم يقتروا وكان بين ذلك قواما والذين لا يدعون مع الله إلها آخر ولا يقتلون النفس التي حرم الله إلا بالحق ولا يقتلون النفس التي حرم الله إلا بالحق ولا يزنون ومن يفعل ذلك يلقى أثاما إلا من تاب وآمن وعمل صالحا فأولئك يبدل الله سيئاتهم حسنات وكان الله غفورا رحيما صدق الله العظيم. الفاتحة.
Now Malika is going to offer us a welcome on behalf of Pearl of the Islands Foundation. Thank you.
Good evening, Assalamu alaikum, and peace be upon you all. My name is Malika, and I serve as the Executive Secretary to Pearl of the Islands Foundation. And I'm honored to be here today alongside Mr. Yalcin Solak, our Executive Director, and Mr. Adam Solomas, our Community Engagement Coordinator, and Mr. Yusuf Guzel and Yasar Guzel, who will support us with music. Pearl of the Islands Foundation is a non-profit organization committed to promoting interfaith dialogue, education, and humanitarian engagement across New Zealand. Founded in 2006 by members of the Turkish Muslim community, PIF has evolved into a dynamic platform that brings people together, encourages mutual respect, and celebrates the cultural diversity that enriches Aotearoa New Zealand. For nearly 2 decades, PIF has worked to build bridges between communities, fostering understanding and social cohesion through meaningful dialogue and collaborative initiatives. The foundation continues to strive toward a more inclusive, peaceful, and connected society. The Little Pearls Educare Centers and the recently initiated Elevate Youth and Community Center further reflect PIF's strong focus on education, youth empowerment, and holistic community development. During this Ramadan season, we are organizing more than 20 Iftar dialogue events across New Zealand, bringing together people from diverse backgrounds to share a meal and a meaningful conversation. Last week, we held our annual education and dialogue Ramadan dinner in Auckland, attended by a wide range of community representatives. This week, we are here to be with you, and tomorrow we will be in Christchurch hosting a similar event. Looking ahead to next week, we will host our Friendship and Dialogue Ramadan dinner at Parliament, continuing our commitment to fostering understanding, connection, and unity throughout the country. We are honored to welcome you as our valued guest on behalf of the Pearl of the Islands Foundation. We sincerely thank you for joining us for this beautiful Ramadan Friendship Evening. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to see a Ramadan reflection and video segment.
Fasting from sunrise to sundown, we say no to food and drink, building the willpower needed to conquer our souls. By submitting to the will of God, believers free themselves from all other submissions. Not driven by our physicality, our internal vision becomes clear, as the veils of the material world are lifted one by one. Then we start to feel that there is an even bigger reality of ourselves, hidden deep down under our skin. Those who observe Ramadan usually do so with a larger family and neighbors. The rather calm day away from food and vain talk is followed by a joyful dinner where believers break bread together in a collective spirit of gratitude. Each day becomes a Thanksgiving day in Ramadan, where each morsel of food, a sip of water, and everything we otherwise take for granted reveal their true, incredible taste. That's when our dark roasted coffee delivers its best flavor. Ramadan is not only about abstaining from food and getting thinner at the end of the month. Through that abstinence, one is also expected to excel in character. When provoked, say, "I am fasting," urges the Holy Prophet. God does not need him to leave food and drink unless he also leaves bad words and behavior. True freedom is not when we respond to violence and conflict, but when we master our emotions not to. It is when we learn to tame our cravings and liberate ourselves from distractions, of which there are many more today than ever before. So come, join us at our table in this celebration of freedom. Ramadan Mubarak.
Were there some other photos that you wanted to show at this time, or any other photos, or do we carry on? Carry on? Okay. It's my privilege now to introduce Professor Douglas Pratt, who is our speaker for tonight. Back in the early 1980s, Douglas was actually minister of this church, the Mornington Methodist Church. The first Mornington Methodist Church was built on this site in 1876. So in 1984, the old church was demolished and this new church was built. That was 42 years ago. So this year we're celebrating 150 years of being on this site, which is quite significant. Professor Douglas Pratt retired in July 2018 as Professor of Religious Studies at the University of Waikato. He was also at one stage a university chaplain, is that right, at the University of Waikato when Hilda and I first met in Hamilton. Douglas established and led the religious studies program since his appointment in 1988 at Waikato University, so he is a very well-established academic and highly respected. Despite his retirement, Professor Pratt remains highly active in academia, holding honorary and research associate positions at esteemed institutions such as the University of Auckland, Bern in Switzerland, Birmingham in England, and St Andrews in Scotland. He is also a research team leader and an editorial team member for the International Bibliographical History of Christian-Muslim Relations project, a testament to his significant contributions to this field. In recognition of his extensive work in Christian-Muslim relations internationally, particularly as the leader of the Asia research team, Dr. Pratt was honoured in 2019 with fellowships of the Royal Asiatic Society, FRAS, and the Royal Historical Society, Hist Studies Society, underlining his influence and dedication to fostering interfaith understanding and historical scholarship. Professor Pratt was presented with the Public Leadership Award at the Pearl of the Islands Foundation Annual Education and Dialogue Ramadan Dinner in Auckland. Was that just last week? In recognition of his exceptional public leadership and his steadfast commitment to fostering understanding and building bridges across communities. And I would just add that once I was asked by Touchstone, our national Methodist magazine, to review one of Doug's books, and I found it exceptionally helpful in categorising the extent to which various people are open to respectful interaction with people of other religions. Now, this was a very helpful contribution to my ministry because it helped me realise that everyone has a limit. And he actually created some categories of openness or not to interfaith dialogue. I think we're a very special group of people here tonight because you people are open to what we're doing tonight. A lot of people aren't. So thank you for coming, and thank you to Professor Douglas Pratt for speaking to us tonight. Thank you.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tātou katoa. Assalamu alaikum. Ramadan Mubarak. Distinguished guests, ladies, leaders and members of faith communities that are here tonight, our friends from the Pearl of the Islands Foundation who so graciously organised this event, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Greg, for your words of introduction and welcome, and shukrun for the recitation from the Quran. It's certainly an honour and privilege for me to give this address. And as Greg has mentioned, I was here for a year 45 years ago, just for 1 year, and then they moved me down to the flats to St Kilda and Dunedin South for 2 more years, and then at the beginning of '84 I went to the University of Waikato as the ecumenical chaplain. And 4 years later, as Greg mentioned, was appointed to start a religious studies program And this led me eventually into Islamic studies and a deeper interest in Christian-Muslim relations, the interest of Christianity and Islam, and latterly, certainly in the early part of this century, I became very involved in research and studying extremism, religious extremism. So I've seen myself for a long time working on the two sides of the coin of religion, the positive side of dialogue, interfaith engagement, and the negative side of extremism and all that goes with that. And both these things are very present today. Indeed, it seems that throughout human history, there's ever been wars and rumours of war. Dictators, demagogues, empire builders, and warlords of varying ilk seek ever to assert dominance and achieve their aims through force. And today is no exception. I wrote those words last week, before the attack on Iran. And I need to speak a few moments about that, to digress from my notes, as it were, or add some more. We see the conjoining of Trump's United States forces, Netanyahu's Israel, against the Islamic Republic of Iran. In effect, two bullies joining together to beat up what they consider a nasty. And many people might consider the nasty to be a nasty. And so they think that everybody's going to cheer when they beat up the nasty. It's all rather like a bizarre replay of a playground incident where two bullies pick on an individual that a lot of people don't like because they don't like what the individual does. But on the playground, the school has rules and regulations of how to conduct things and what to do and how to resolve things, etc., and says bullies shouldn't do bullying things. But bullies take no notice of that. They just want to beat up beat up their victim and enjoy the sense they have won and their victim has lost. Indeed, that was the rhetoric that we saw in the House of Representatives, I think it was last year, when Netanyahu addressed them. Together, he said, we win, they lose. Exactly what bullies say. I win, you lose, and walk away. Nowadays, of course, we find that we're not just talking about bullies in that kind of more abstract or playground sense at all. Because behind Trump's America, deeply embedded in what's going on, is a particular form of Christian extremism. Conjoining now with Israel's particular form of Jewish extremism, railing against a particular form of Islamic extremism. These are extremisms fighting each other and drawing the innocent world in. Extremisms reject diversity. They reject multiple cohesion. They reject difference and differentiation. They very often reject gender variation and discriminate particularly against women. The same kind of discrimination that we've seen with Islamic extremism such as the Iran regime and the Taliban are echoed in the 2025 manifesto of the United States Republican Party. The same basic attitudes. Extremisms are what, at the moment, are ruling what's happening in the world today. And of course, extremisms suppress dissent and opposition, even to the point of elimination. Extremisms, in other words, eschew the prime values of their own religion. That's why they are extremist. They read things narrowly, interpret in a particular way to assert a particular agenda on their own, as well as on others. Prime values of their religion, they reject in effect. And we can see the significance of these values when we recognise their absence. And with that, bearing that in mind, I want to return to my text for tonight. Because the quest for peace that is often seen as one of the prime values never ends. The work to promote social cohesion and communal, let alone international harmony, is a constant. And we may wonder, why is this so? We may well ask, what can be done? What needs to change? What do we need to do? In truth, of course, we live in a world of great diversity, of rich variety, of even stupendous multiplicity. We see this in the natural world, and we mourn the increasing loss of diverse species of life as climate change increasingly disrupts the fragile membrane of existence within which the diversity of nature is sustained. We see diversity also in the world of humanity, the rich variety of cultures, of languages, of ethnicities and race, without which the world would be a dull monochrome of endless sameness. It's interesting to note that in both Christianity and Islam, the image of paradise is that of a Garden of Eden. I've often asked people the question, what's your image of the Garden of Eden? Is it the image of a neatly mown flat lawn? Is it an image of just hydrangeas everywhere? Or roses of one colour? Or is it a rich profusion of life? What would you think of as the Garden of Eden? The garden of the Creator. I put it to you, it is one of rich diversity. And we see diversity in the great variety of religions, of the ways of being human, of the spiritual traditions, wisdom traditions, and philosophies that have framed and still framed the ways in which we human beings understand and shape our lives. As a scholar of religion, I follow the phenomenological methodology. And if you get your tongue around that word, you're halfway there, phenomenological. But it's a method that allows for learning about, exploring and understand religion and the religions with critical empathy, and I've applied that both in terms of understanding my own religion and that of others. For religions are not just about believing something. They are also about belonging. They are about participating. They're about doing as much as about being something. What we call our religions comprise many different dimensions or phenomena. And this allows me to see that even though the diversity of religions means necessarily great differences of detail, of content, of self-understanding and commitments, nevertheless, there are significant dimensions of effective equivalence, of commonality, of fruitful contact, of what I refer to as dynamic parallels of sameness that thread through the variety. Not sameness of content, but sameness of a dynamic. For example, all the major religions have a notion that there was once a time of perfection, that this perfection has been lost, but there is a way to either get it back or get back to it. And religions have different stories that narrate that sequence, to relate that dynamic, or that expand on that dynamic if you like. Different ways of doing it, but it's a similar kind of dynamic. What we have now, we know, is not as things should be, but here is a way to make it better. The problem is we compete with the ways of making it better and start beating up on each other if we don't like their ways. That is part of the problem. Among the more obvious of these are the values espoused by religions, indeed the moral or ethical dimension of religion, the dimension that prescribes how we should live as human beings, whether as individuals or in community, is one of the phenomena that comprise any religion. And I would suggest to you that cultural values, by and large, have emerged from preceding religious values. It's just a point that's worth bearing in mind. Values espoused by religions may, in some respects, be virtually identical. This is sometimes seen in the so-called golden rule: do unto others as you would have others do unto you. You find variations of that throughout all the religious traditions. Because effectively, everyone wants to live in peace. Effectively, everyone wants to be able to get on with their neighbour and not to be afraid of warfare coming in. That's what everybody wants. Do unto others as you have them do unto you. And we can see this also in commandments that prohibit such things as lying, stealing, killing, and so forth. Or with the injunction to honour our elders, care for the outcast, care for those who are bereft of sustenance and security, the sojourner, the stranger. Hospitality is one of the bedrocks of most religious traditions. Or exhortations to show mercy, to act compassionately toward our fellow human beings, and indeed toward the world of nature upon which we rely for our own sustenance. Such injunctions will be differently framed and articulated in the different religions or faith traditions, but they are there, for religions are about life and our living of it. And to live in peace within a context of variety, of diversity, of multiplicity, requires the ability to dialogue, to engage in acts of deep listening, to set aside presupposition and prejudice in order to understand one another, resolve dispute and grievance, and establish the ground rules for shared existence. But dialogue itself is not one thing. At least 4 modes of dialogue have been identified, and the first is something we all do. It is the dialogue of life. The second is the dialogue of action. The third, the dialogue of experience. The fourth, often assumed to be what dialogue actually means, is just the dialogue of discourse, of intellectual question, debate and discussion, mutual learning. Let me say a few words about each before posing the question, what is the point, the purpose of this dialogue, of any dialogue? And further, how does this relate to the theme of dignity, justice and kindness, shared cultural and religious values for peace? The dialogue of life is our everyday interaction with neighbours, shopkeepers, doctors, dentists, lawyers, caregivers, nurses, sales and office people, and so many more of all types and walks of business and life. We are constantly interacting with people in all areas of life who, whether born in our country or from abroad, originate from many different countries, speak many languages, represent a diversity of cultures and religions. Built on a bicultural foundation, Aotearoa me te Waipunamu, New Zealand, is indeed a land today of many cultures. Although now dominantly secular in the narrow sense of being non-religious, New Zealand is indeed a land of great religious diversity. Our daily interactions with this diversity form the bedrock of the dialogue of life. And from this we can can and do engage in the dialogue of action. This is where folk from different faiths may join forces together with those of no faith in common cause purpose. It may be in response to a natural disaster, as in dealing with the aftermath of storms or earthquakes, or responding to the human tragedy, for example, of the terrorism, such as the event in Christchurch some years ago. It may be in promoting common principles for the betterment of local community or society at large, as, for example, in objecting to a proliferation of liquor outlets, or, as I recall, with others, Methodists, Mormons and Muslims joined forces to oppose the building of a casino in their town. Well, they lost that one. But the unanimity across diversity bore witness to the process of the dialogue of action. People of differing faiths, having gained a measure of mutual confidence and trust, may then pursue the dialogue of experience. Indeed, this is a good step in respect to taking opportunities to get to know one another at some depth. Not to discuss and debate matters of religious belief or practice or philosophy, but simply to share the lived experience of one's own religious life. What does it mean? What do we do? Why do we do it? How does it support us? Etc. Such a dialogue can enable the experience of walking a mile in the shoes of the other, an opportunity to foster understanding and empathy, to discover something of what I've called the dynamic parallels. Some of the more outstanding international examples have been in the area of intermonastic dialogue, where monks of one tradition, perhaps Zen Buddhism, have engaged with monks from another, such as Christian Benedictine. But we don't have to be monks to tell of our own experience of being who we are and listening to the experience of another. The dialogue of experience is just another step that can lead on from the dialogue of life, becoming relationally intentional, if you like. Finally, there is the dialogue of discourse. And this is very much the level of intellectual and intentional engagement that might begin with an exchange of experience, but then sets out to probe, to listen, to question, to learn about not only the other, but also in the process to come to a deeper appreciation and understanding of one's own religious tradition. And critically, what it means to be of one religion in a context of religious diversity. For although religions may be perceived as somehow unique and set apart, and even historically existed in isolation from each other, in reality, that has not often been the case. For religious diversity has been around for a long time, and every religion has a position in respect to others and other religions. Very often, it is exclusive. They're wrong, we're right. Sometimes it's inclusive. We're all part of the one big family, but actually it's better that you join us than we join you because we're actually better. But sometimes it can be seen as pluralist. And it involves a kind of an opening up to recognition for those who believe in God, for example, that God is bigger than our own tradition and apprehension of God. We cannot put limits. Maybe God is telling us something of this diversity of creation because of the diversity of religious traditions and the way God has interacted with people. Various responses such as that. The dialogue of discourse, often the realm of religious specialists, must needs be open to a wider vision of religious diversity. Religious exclusivists tend to shun dialogue as such. They don't want to be involved. But that is often asked, what is the point? What's the purpose of dialogue? Is it to create a sort of super religion? Some form of amalgam? A religious stew? Is the goal to resolve all difference and dissent by shedding distinctions and promoting only the commonalities? The answer to such questions is clearly negative, because there is no end game to dialogue. The purpose is first and foremost to foster peaceful coexistence. It is ongoing. It is the journey. All forms or levels I have outlined presume, foster and promote the dignity and worth of each other. That comes through in all of them. You don't engage if you don't respect. And engaging, you build deeper respect. There is at the moment no respect being shown by the religious extremist to people of other faiths, for example. This kind of fostering of respect and so on is very much the case also for the dialogue of action as well as the dialogue of experience. Dignity, justice, kindness thread through the dialogue of discourse, and there are outstanding examples of those also in recent decades. The wars of today that capture our attention are born of the fostering of religious and ideological extremism and the eschewing of the way of dialogue. In the process, dignity is trampled underfoot, justice is denied, kindness evaporates. We see the results when the values are eviscerated or disappear, are ignored. The key elements in the recipe for peace become all the more evident when we see the consequence of their absence. Dignity, justice, and kindness are some of the principal virtues of religions, virtues that undergird that peace which all people everywhere seek. Reira, tēnā koutou katoa, Mubarak Karim. Thank you. By the way, I've just seen here, Greg, the Dunedin Interfaith Council piece of paper that you want to go around. Maybe start circulating.
No, there's another piece of paper circulating. Has that gone around yet, Malika? Perhaps start sending that around now. Okay, we've asked 3 people to very briefly respond to Professor Pratt's comprehensive talk. There's a lot there, and you'll all be relieved to know that this is being recorded, so that if you want to go back and watch it again, it's on the Mornington Methodist Church YouTube channel from later on tonight, and you can share that link with your friends. So we have firstly Dr. Rula Talama. Thank you, Rula, just to share with us your response to Doug's talk, and I must emphasise you need to be quite brief, thank you, from the microphone, because we are starting to run a little bit behind time.
Sure.
We want to get complete before sunset.
I'll make it very short. Kia ora koutou katoa. My name is Rula Talahma. I am a Palestinian Kiwi based here in Otipoti, Dunedin. My whakapapa goes to the outskirts of Gaza City in Palestine. And I would like to extend my whakapapa in the future through my children who were born here, and they call Otipoti Dunedin home. Thank you for having me. I only had one reflection before listening to Professor Pratt, but you have filled my bucket today with a lot to talk about. One thing I want to bring in is an example from my home country. At the dawn of the 1900s, the population in Palestine was a majority Muslim population, 82%, with 17% who are Christian and 3% who are Jews, Palestinians. Of course, the percentages don't add up, and I think there were also more liberal or secular or people from other minority groups, all belonging to the land, all ethnically from there, who might have been Jews and Christian and Muslims at different stages of their lives. And that is very, very evident in our practices today that shows that harmony and very much of those joined practices. So, yes, a dialogue is not the end game, it's an ongoing process, and through that, that brings me to the point that I wanted to talk about. We uplift each other, and we find our commonalities, and we accept that we are not a mono version of each other. So those differences do exist, because if God wanted to create us at a same copy, he would have done that, but he didn't, so here you go. One thing from my faith that I want to share, and it was a reflection on the word manna, because that word has puzzled me for so many years. What is the equivalent for that word in my tradition? And I came to realize that there are three intertwined words or concepts that come from the Arabic root karama. The first is karama, which is, for me, it's an untouchable, inherited dignity that cannot be compromised, that people are born with it. From the Quran, God says, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ, which means we have dignified the children of Adam, which means that you are born with that quality. And we have certainly honored the children of Adam. That's from the Quran. Indicates that dignity is inherited from creation to all people, just as manna is bestowed by inheritance. So you're not born without it. Then the other word that comes to mind is karama, which means the rejection for humiliation and to striving to defend honor. And this is another important word that comes from the same root. And then I don't know if it's a coincidence, but also we have the word karam, which means hospitality. So it's abundance and care. So when we say manakitaka or manakitanga, it means that you are uplifting the dignity of a person. And it could also be translated as hospitality, because for me it has the same root. And that's abundance and care, putting the others first, showing hospitality to your guests, to uphold their status, their manner, their dignity, no matter who they are. And again, an emphasis on no matter who they are, because we have stories from Islamic and Arabic literature that shows that you have to be manner-enhancing, hospitable, dignifying the people who come to you, even if they are the other. And if we can come to terms with that, we definitely can continue our dialogue, our action, and our discourse. Yeah. So, thank you.
We have another professor with us tonight from our church, Professor Richard Cannon. So Richard is going to share a response. Professor of Dentistry.
Kia ora koutou, ko Richard Cannon taku ingoa. So I'm Richard Cannon, and this is my church. So I've got a Methodist heritage, and I just want to share a little bit of that and some points that came from the talk. So our founder, John Wesley, was ardent anti-slavery person, and women throughout Methodist history have been very strong in the suffragette movement and in temperance movement as well. And I'm very proud to be a member of this church, which, as the flag here indicates, we're a reconciling congregation. We value diversity and we welcome everybody to this church. Just to pick up on a few of the themes that have been talked about today, thinking about extremism, about war and about peace, and how, we need to bring peace more than ever now. And I'm reminded of the verse in the Bible, John 14:27, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you." And in our tradition and in a lot of Christian traditions, in the service we pass the peace. We say, "Peace be with you," and it's reciprocated. But what I've been thinking about is that we do that within our service, we do it within our congregation to our neighbour, who we know already. And I think what I've been challenged tonight is how to take that out into other communities and share that with other people and engage in dialogue and learn from them ways of peace. Thank you.
And our third responder is Reverend Dr. Mary Huey Jolly. Mary is a Presbyterian minister and does a lot of work with clinical pastoral education training. Thank you.
Tēnā koutou katoa. It's a good experience to be here with all of you from our different faith traditions tonight. What spoke to me in this wonderful talk, which was very full and rich, was the idea of critical empathy, that we are not all alike, but and we do have the capacity to understand what is perhaps different about my way of living, my way of thinking and believing, and someone else's. But that in compassion and empathy, we can look for parallels and we can better understand ourselves by getting to know on a deeper level the other person. It reminded me of something that I used to practice with students, something I learned from the Japanese tradition about kintsugi, which is a Japanese Buddhist tradition of taking a beautiful piece of pottery that has been broken, that you want to preserve, sort of like our own. All of us have this Garden of Eden, but it doesn't remain perfect. Things fall apart. But when that beautiful piece of pottery breaks, you can pick up the pieces and mend them together with gold, and what you come out with is more beautiful even than what you started with. I think that that is the kind of work that we're involved in, and in our social and political climate, we have to remember that these values of our faith are not just something for our holy days, but they have to do with every single interaction, as our speaker said. That's where our dialogue happens. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to share with you the tradition of the Pearl of the Islands Foundation. Each year, PIF awards are presented to recognize the outstanding contributions of individuals towards the promotion of dialogue and understanding between members of diverse communities. As you heard before, Professor Douglas Pratt was awarded with the Public Service Award at the recent Auckland event. And we have the Community Leadership Award, which is handed out to an outstanding recipient for the effort made towards promoting a better understanding of faiths and cultures through their fair and objective coverage of events and individuals in our multicultural society. This year, PIF Community Leadership Award is presented to Reverend Greg Hewson. Surprise, right? In recognition of his dedicated commitment and outstanding service to the community. Reverend Greg Hewson has dedicated over 32 years to full-time ministry to the Methodist Church of New Zealand, including 20 years from 2000 to 2019 as ecumenical chaplain at the University of Otago. During his time there, he became a central pastoral presence for students and staff, offering support through crisis, bereavements, and significant moments of campus life. Reverend Hewson has also played a vital role in strengthening interfaith relationships in Dunedin. He helped establish the Dunedin Abrahamic Interfaith Group in 2001 and co-founded the Dunedin Interfaith Council in 2013, fostering dialogue, peace, and cooperation across religious and cultural communities. Although officially retired, Reverend Greg remains active in interfaith initiatives, public speaking, and creative pursuits, continuing his lifelong commitment to peace, compassion, and understanding. I would like to invite Mr. Yasin Solak, Executive Director of PIF, to present the Community Leadership Award to Reverend Greg.
Very much for that. We're going to move now to music, and first I'd like to invite my friend Mark. Mark is going to play a classical piece for us. Mark, would you like to introduce the piece you're going to? Mark Bevan. Dr. Mark Bevan is a recently retired general practitioner. I think we have quite a high number of doctors here tonight, don't we, of all sorts.
Oh, thanks very much, Greg. When Greg asked me to play a short piece, he gave me a time to do it. I thought, with the theme of the evening, a perfect piece would be Claude Debussy's Arabesque No. 1. The arabesque is, in French, means in the Arabic style. And the music is highly ornamental, lyrical, rippling, meant to evoke the complex decorative patterns of Islamic art. So there's very much a relationship. Claude Debussy and Robert Schumann were the key exponents of arabesques. It's also an interesting ballet move, but I won't demonstrate that. So the arabesque art form, as I understand it, appeared in Islamic culture and art in about the 10th century. And I'll just read this because it's a form of artistic decoration consisting of surface decorations based on rhythmic linear patterns of scrolling and interlacing foliage, tendrils, plain lines, often with other elements. There's also a symbolism, and it reflects the unity of belief, the perception of traditional Islamic culture, and the absolute power of Allah. It represents the eternal nature of creation and divine omnipresence. So this is quite interesting, the way that the composers picked up this art form and put it into music. And I think you'll hear it. So, Debussy's Arabesque No. 1.
Mark. That was beautiful. And now we are going to have a Sufi group. This is where I put my hat on. Been practicing with Yasser and Yusuf. They've been staying with us since yesterday. So we've spent so many hours practicing, and I've learnt a whole new different type of harmony. So you just wait. It's really interesting. And after these 3 short pieces, there will be the call to prayer at sunset and a prayer for our food. Then everyone is invited to come through into the hall for a iftar meal. The food has just been delivered from Pasha, so please do come and help us enjoy that food as well as food that others have brought. But also, let's listen now to the Sufi group.
The first piece is called Salat Ummiye. It's Arabic prayer, original prayer, and it has been added to a melody in 1500s by Utri. And thank you.
Can you explain this?
Yes, that's the most.
Oh, okay. Is there a microphone? So when I asked about what was the meaning of this one we're about to play, it's Mevlam, is that right? And it talks about humans being attracted to the light of God. How many of you know what a moth is? And a moth comes inside, and where does it go? It goes to the light. So imagine these lights here, and as it gets dark, all the moths fly in, and they're attracted to the light. And this beautiful song is saying that it's a bit like that with God. The light of God attracts us like a moth. Is that right? Good theology.
I can't call it Turkish really. It's a piece that has been written a long time ago, around 1,000 years ago. Who has wrote it and whose culture it belongs to? It's not, we don't know. It's called Üsküdar. Thank you for listening.
I got the rhythm. I am afraid I will read fast. Allahu Ekber, Allahu Ekber, Allahu Ekber, Allahu Ekber. Eşhedü en la ilahe illallah. Eşhedü en la ilahe illallah. Eşhedü enne Muhammeden Resulullah. Eşhedü enne Muhammeden Resulullah. Hayy ale's-salâh. Hayy ale's-salâh. Hayy alel-felâh. Hayy alel-felâh. Allahu Ekber, Allahu رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمد الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة الرفيعة وبعث مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته اللهم لك صمت وبك آمنت وعليك توكلت وعلى رزقك أفطرت. O Allah, we fasted for you and we believe in you and we put our trust in you and we break our fast with your sustenance. Amen. Thank you. Food time.
Well, thank you, everyone. Please do make your way through to the hall for the iftar meal together. There are tables and chairs there. Please just help yourself to the food and then go and find a seat. And try and meet someone new.
I was very eager to learn